Well, it seems this one didn't really work out either. Hello again team, it's Jess or JashiiCorrin, and welcome back for my week 10 plan with me. Before we get into setting that one up though, we are of course going to be looking at this week, which as you can see, started off kinda well. I actually wrote some things down, and I even did some of them. But as the week progressed, did not get into my journal. I'm honestly thinking I'm gonna have to brainstorm a list of things that I can write down in my journal so that I'm more motivated to get in and write them down in my journal. As I've spoken about in the previous few weeks, I'm kind of finding it hard to balance my teacher planner with my bullet journal use. And that is still very much the case. Nothing against this layout, I actually quite like it. I'm kind of a sucker for rainbows, so that kind of helps. But obviously that wasn't actually enough to get me into my journal and using this setup. For next week, I'm going to be going with a one-page weekly, because I think that having slightly smaller boxes and less space to write in might be a little bit less daunting, and hopefully it'll encourage me to get into my journal. As per usual, any of the equipment I use in today's setup is linked in the description box below. And let's get into it. For the one-page weekly that I'm doing for this week, the inspiration for this one came from Martha of Martha's Journal, and this post in particular. I thought that the little decorations were cute, and it was nice having a little bit less space for each day of the week. I'm hoping this will help me because then I'll have less to fill in and less to actually do in order to get a full page come the end of the week. In terms of the person who gave me the idea for having a one-page layout this week, and also our first inquirer, or person who asked a question on last week's video, we have Butterfly Nez, who asked, between the Archer and Olive and the Dingbats, which has your preference? This one's a little bit tricky to say because of course when I was using my Dingbats I didn't have my teacher planner, so my spreads were really getting used and they were a lot more full. There are certainly elements of the Archer and Olive that I do enjoy a lot more than the Dingbats. For instance, the whiteness of the paper is something I really enjoy. I also like the thickness of the paper and not having to worry about any ghosting or bleeding. In terms of the Dingbats, I do really miss the fact that it had 28 squares across, which meant you could really nicely divide it into 4 columns per page. I also miss the fact that it had page numbers, because the Archer and Olive obviously doesn't have those. It's probably a little too early at this stage to really say which one I prefer, but give me another month and I'll get back to you. Our next question came from Michelle, who asked, have you reviewed your teacher planner to see if there's anything personal in it that perhaps should be in your bujo? Maybe review your teacher planner to see if you've been putting your personal tasks and notes in it unknowingly. I know you took out some of your personal trackers, perhaps this would be a good time to add one or two. That might motivate you to use it a little bit more. Thanks for your suggestion, Michelle, I do really appreciate those ideas. In terms of my teacher planner, I have been pretty good so far at making sure I'm only recording teaching stuff in there. I think part of the reason that maybe I haven't been using my bujo so much is because outside of the tasks that I have to do for teaching, of which there are a lot of tasks, I feel like I only really have chores. That's probably a pretty grim outlook. I do know there are other things going on in my life outside of chores and schoolwork. Which is why, as I mentioned, I'm thinking I might want to write a list of things that I can record on my weekly spreads that are outside the scope of just my teaching stuff. Still an idea I'm toying around with, but we'll see what comes of that. In terms of my personal trackers, yes, I have removed a few. And that's partially because I'm doing a lot of goal tracking in my power sheets, and for my other trackers, I was finding that the use that I actually got out of them wasn't really worth the amount of time I was putting into them, if that kind of makes sense. As I also mentioned, I figured with the smaller amount of space that I have for each day on this weekly setup, I'll hopefully find a little bit of success with having a full spread come the end of the week. And I know that's something that will motivate me to get back into it. I really love the way a full spread looks. Our next question comes from, I always read this as the Ilwin, but I'm not sure if that's right, so let me know if it's wrong. And their question was, will you let Vogel do another weekly spread again someday? For sure, I will have Vogel on another one of these videos. Not too sure when that will be, but I am hoping to get him to do a spread in the Archer and Olive, mostly because he's a little bit heavy-handed when it comes to my pens. He likes to go over areas quite a few times with my Tombos, and I'm going to be a lot less worried about bleed through if he's working in this one. Our next question came from Alana, who asked, Australia or New Zealand? Can't work out your accent. And I figured this would be a good time to reintroduce myself, just because we do have quite a few new subscribers here. So a big welcome to you guys. Hello, I am Jess. I am a 28-year-old science teacher in Wellington, New Zealand. I am originally from Melbourne, Australia though, and my accent's kind of janky because of it. Also doesn't help that I worked with a Canadian manager for about 5 years, so now I say some words a little bit weird, which sometimes makes it a little hard for people to place my accent. Our next question came from Jennifer, who asked, how are your yearly goals going? Are you making progress? All in all, I'm pretty pleased with the progress that I'm making. There is certainly room for improvement, and in February in particular, the progress has not been very substantial, but there still has been progress. I've been trying to keep reminding myself of the idea of small steps will equal big progress, but I am working on them slowly. My proper goal check-in with my power sheets is coming out this Sunday, so if you guys are interested, make sure that you check that one out. As a little spoiler alert though, goals that are going well, I'm feeling pretty good about my teaching related goals. Another goal that I feel is going well is also content creation, so that's over here on YouTube and also on Instagram. As always, thank you to our inquirers from last week. If you guys had any questions you want answered in next week's video, please do leave them in the comment section. I love getting questions from you guys. In terms of a question that I have for you guys, I would love to know what's one thing that you really like about your current journal and one thing that you wish was a little different. As I mentioned, with the Archer and Olive, I do really love the whiteness of the paper, but I'm kind of bummed that it doesn't have page numbers. If you guys wanted to share your thoughts, please drop those in the comment section too. Alrighty, and that's where I'm going to leave it for today. So as you can see, I've got a box for each day of the week, a mini calendar, some decorative boxes, and a space for notes. Fingers crossed that I actually use this one. It is really quite pretty, and I hope that encourages me to actually get into my journal. Thank you for watching, team. If you liked today's video, please do make sure to give it a big thumbs up, and if you wanted to see more from me, feel free to go check out one of my other videos. Until next time, bye!